I was sitting around the other day, tapping my feet. A publication came to my door, said you died and gone to sleep. But I couldn't shed a tear, I never knew you well. But I'm missing you just the same. Libba, please rest easy down on Chestnut Street, 'cause I'm here in that old freight train. Sounds like now I'm sitting around this very night, I'm listening and it makes me grin. Libba, please rest easy down on Chestnut Street, 'cause I'm here in that old freight train. I know we let you in.
Music from the band Firehose off their 1987 album If'n, which is a reference to Bob Dylan's Freewheelin' album. That's a track from them called In Memory of Elizabeth Cotten. And most of us probably don't realize that Elizabeth Cotten was one of the most influential songwriters in the development of classic rock, not only in England, but in the United States. So Elizabeth Cotten was born in 1893. And as a 9-year-old, somewhere between the age of 9 and 11, 9 and 12, she's going to write a song called Freight Train. And that song will get picked up throughout the lexicon and the development of music in the Western world and become quite influential. She's born to enslaved parents, and she plays the guitar left-handed in the Piedmont style, which means on the guitar she will play not only the lead guitar, the rhythm guitar, but also the bass. And what makes it interesting is being left-handed, she's going to play a right-handed guitar strung backwards with 2 fingers, much like Django Reinhardt. It's a very complicated style, and it's referred to as, no joke, cotton pickin'. And Elizabeth Cotten, also known as Libba Cotten, will earn a Grammy in 1985 for the Best Ethnic and Traditional Recording and be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022. So the way this story kind of gets started is she writes a song called Freight Train. She also has a song called Shake Sugaree, which the Grateful Dead had recorded and would play live. And someone points out to them, hey, she's got copyrights on that song and you're not paying her royalties for the use of that song. And the Dead kind of goes, we had no idea, we didn't know. And so they agree that they're going to record a song also written by Cotten, which you may have heard from Gillian Welch and David Rollins or perhaps Sue Foley, a track called Oh Babe It Ain't No Lie. And the proceeds, the revenue off that from the Grateful Dead will give Cotten a comfortable life for the rest of her life. Now, this is all going to weave together in a very interesting pattern, but let's hear the song from Elizabeth Cotten that she records with her granddaughter, Brenda Evans, and basically Cotten had the melody, and Evans is going to create the lyrics for Shake Sugaree. And we'll also hear the Grateful Dead's version of Oh Babe, It Ain't No Lie.
I just got back to deal. I work all the week, honey, and I give it all to you. Honey, baby, one more can I do? Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Been all around this whole round world, and I just got back today. Work all week, honey, and I give it all to you. Honey, baby, what more can I do? Oh, you know this life I live is me.
twice. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in part. Everything I got is done in part. Pawn my watch, pawn my chain, pawn everything that was in my name. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Pawn my buggy, horse and cot, pawn everything that was on my lot. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Pawn my chair, pawn my bed, ain't got nowhere to lay my head. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Pawn my tobacco, pawn my pipe, pawn everything that was in my sight. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Have a little secret I ain't gonna tell. I'm going to heaven in a ground pea shell. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Pawn my farm, pawn my plow, pawn everything, even pawn my old cow. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Pawn my hat, pawn my shoes, pawn everything that I could use. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Have a little secret I ain't gonna tell. I'm going to heaven and I ain't gonna. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Chew my tobacco, spit my juice. Would raise Cain, but it ain't a bit of use. Oh, lie to me, didn't I shake Sugaree? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn.
Music there from Elizabeth Cotten and her granddaughter, Brenda Evans. Now, pay attention to Brenda Evans because we're going to come back to her in just a moment. But here's how the adventure begins. Cotten gives up playing music, and she's working in a department store as a young mother. And another mother, a white mother, walks in with her child, and the child kind of wanders away. And you got to remember, this is in the highly segregated America 1950s, right? And so Cotten kind of herds the child back to the mother and kind of makes an acquaintance because the mother is the wife of Charles Seeger. Charles Seeger is going to have 3 children, Peggy Seeger, Mike Seeger, and of course Pete Seeger. And Cotten will become the caretaker for this family. And if you saw the movie, which featured Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan, you'll see a reference to this in that movie. But what happens is Cotten is living with the Seeger family, and they are ethnomusicologists. So they're looking around for unique songs, and they realize this woman can play the guitar. And not only can she play the guitar, but she is astonishingly good at it. And that begins the relationship between Elizabeth Cotten and the Seeger family, which launches this entire narrative. But let's go back to Brenda Evans for just a minute. Brenda Evans, as you heard there, was quite young and did the lyrics for the song, which became famous, Shake Sugaree. Well, Evans is going to go on. In the 1960s and 70s, she's going to join a band called The Undisputed Truth and have a top hit called Smiling Faces.
Of the evil that lurks within. Smiling faces, sometimes they don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof. Oh Lord, yeah. Sometimes they don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof.
Beware of the handshake, their hands are snakes.
I'm telling you, beware of the pat on the back. It just might hold you back. Jealousy, misery, envy. I tell you, you can't see behind smiling faces. Sometimes, hey, they don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof.
Your enemy won't do you no harm, 'cause you know where he's coming from.
Don't let the handshake and the smile fool you. Take my advice, I'm only trying to school you. Smiling faces, sometimes they don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof.
Music there from the band The Undisputed Truth, featuring Brenda Evans, the daughter of Libba Cotten, as well as Joe Harris. Now, Joe Harris will leave that band and go on to form another band and be a founding member, rather, of the Ohio Players. And Brenda will continue to sing in background for people like Diana Ross and other Motown artists. But at the heart of this is a song called Freight Train. And Freight Train will come to the British through skiffle music. And we'll talk about that when we come back. But when we come back, we'll hear music from one of the great skiffle musicians of all time, a guy named Van Morrison, doing the song Freight Train.
Freight train, going so fast. Freight train, going so fast. I don't know what train I'm on. Won't you tell me before I'm gone? Lost his reason, lost his life, killed his friend in mortal strife. Must have moved like the rolling skies, just waiting until he died. When he does, just bury him, please. We're down at the end of Chestnut Street. Poplars at his head and feet, and tell him he's gone to sleep. Freight train, gone so fast. Freight train, gone so fast. I don't know what train I'm on. Won't you tell me before I'm gone? Freight train, gone so fast. Freight train, gone so fast. I don't know what train I'm on. Won't you tell me before I'm gone? Freight train, gone so fast. Freight train, gone so fast. I don't know what train I'm on. Won't you tell me before I'm gone? Tell me before I'm gone. Won't you tell me before I'm gone? Won't you tell me before I'm gone? Freight train.
Music there from Van Morrison, the legendary Irish singer, doing a cover of the song Freight Train, which was recently recorded on a Skiffle album that Van Morrison had made. Now, if we go back to Libba Cotten, she's kind of in charge of the Seeger children as they're growing up as a part of Charles Seeger's home. She's going to teach them a song that she wrote, Freight Train, when she was 9, 10, 11, 12. They're unsure, really. But she wrote this song as a child, and she's going to teach it to the 3 Seeger children. And what's going to happen is each of them will go off into their professional music careers and use this song as a part of their repertoire. Other people are going to pick it up and begin to play it, and it becomes a staple. And in this instance, the daughter, Peggy Seeger, one of the earliest people to record that song, will take it over to England at the beginning of the Skiffle movement. And so when we think about Skiffle movement and its founding, there's kind of 3 people that are involved. One is Chris Barber, he's a trombone player. Another is Ken Coiler, who's a trumpet player. And together they're going to have a band which will feature the gentleman who eventually becomes known as the king of Skiffle, Lonnie Donegan. And Lonnie Donegan is a superstar. He's very influential. All the young British kids are really getting into this music, including a band called the Quarrymen. Well, the Quarrymen was John Lennon's original band, and it was as the Quarrymen that Paul McCartney meets him in St. Mark's Yard at the church in Liverpool, well, outside of Liverpool, actually. And they meet up, and the banjo is a prominent instrument in this. In fact, John Lennon can't play guitar chords when Paul meets him. He's playing banjo chords that his mother, Julia, had taught him. But let's hear a song, an example where the Beatles go back in time, echo their skiffle roots, and record the song Maggie Mae.
Oh, dirty Maggie Mae, they have taken her away, and she never walked down Light Street anymore. Oh, the judge, she guilty found her, but up in the homeward bound her, that dirty, no good Robin Maggie Mae. 'Tis the part of Liverpool, did it turn me to £2.10 a week, that was my pay.
So it was on the album Let It Be that the Beatles recorded Maggie Mae, but that's a song in their repertoire that goes all the way back before the Beatles to the Quarrymen and John's specifically adoration for the skiffle movement. Now, skiffle movement, they're going to play as the Quarrymen a lot of songs you'll probably recognize as a skiffle band, including Rock Island Line, which we're going to talk a great deal about in a moment. Cumberland Gap, a song which is later recorded by, of course, the Grateful Dead. Freight Train, Maggie Mae, Last Train to San Fernando, and the San Francisco Bay Blues, When the Saints Go Marching In, and the old Lead Belly track, Midnight Special, and Cotton Fields. So they're going to reach back into American music, and they're going to pull forward music from people like Woody Guthrie, Lead Belly, and the two founts of American country music, the Carter family and the singing brakeman, Jimmy Rogers. This is going to be the foundation of skiffle music as the young British kids are exploring the banjo and the guitar and how to make music on their own. Well, eventually, all these guys like Jimmy Page starts out in a skiffle band. Pete Townsend and John Entwistle, long before The Who, long before the Small Numbers, they have a band called the Confederates, which is a skiffle band. Other people like Neil Young, Jerry Garcia, and Van Morrison also play banjos and are emulating, at least indirectly, skiffle music. So it's kind of interesting. And one of the characteristics of skiffle music is a T-chest bass, percussion, guitars, and the banjo. And so how does the banjo get into all of this? Well, the banjo is originally an African instrument, comes in through the Caribbean, goes into the American South, and then during vaudeville, jumps back across the Atlantic Ocean into kind of dance hall music in England, where these young men are going to hear this sound, and eventually Lonnie Donegan picks it up, and he begins to play, and he's very influential on all these other players. So one of the foundational songs that breaks out skiffle in the English society is a track called Don't You Rock Me, Daddy-O.
Now me and my wife went to town. Say away, lady, say away. Well, we went to buy a $10 gown. Say away, lady, say away. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Well, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Well, don't she rock me, daddy-o. She tried the green, she tried the red. Say away, lady, say away. I'll have them both, that's what she said. Say away, lady, say away. Now don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Well, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Now don't she rock me, daddy-o. Well, she put one on and it looked a treat. Say away, lady, say away. Then found another man to meet. Say away, lady, say away. Now don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Now don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Now don't she rock me, daddy-o. Now Mr. Lee, my girl alone. Say away, lady, say away. Well, she gets what she wants at home. Say away, lady, say away. Now don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Now don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Oh, don't she rock daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. I'm going upstairs to pack my trunk.
Sail away, lady, sail away.
Go find a bar and get me drunk.
Sail away, lady, sail away.
Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. 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 Oh, don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o. Don't she rock me, daddy-o.
Music there from the Vipers and a track from them called Don't You Rock Me Daddy-O. And according to the book written by Billy Bragg about the development of skiffle music, it's called Roots, Radicals, and Rockers. The Vipers were the band that really broke skiffle music in the London market. Now, an interesting thing is an occasional member of the Vipers was a guy named Tommy Hicks. And Tommy Hicks would come and play and sing and things. But eventually he's going to change his name, and if you're a Beatles fan, you're going to recognize this, to Tommy Steele. And he's going to really become the first teen idol, 6 years before the Beatles were a boy band. And he's going to become the first teen idol that's very influential, and eventually he becomes a sculptor. And if you ever go to Liverpool, there's a statue or a sculpture on Stanley Street of Eleanor Rigby. Tommy Steele did that artistic display on the streets of Liverpool. Well, we mentioned a moment ago Chris Barber, and Chris Barber was one of the founding players in the skiffle movement. He was a trombone player and very influential, and it was actually through him, as well as Ken Coiler, that Lonnie Donegan's career gets launched. And Donegan is the Elvis Presley, if you will, of the skiffle movement. But years later, Barber's going to go back and record an album, kind of a tribute album to his career. It's called Memories of My Trip. And here's the people that he's going to record with because he was so influential on them or by them. So Muddy Waters is on the album, along with founding skiffle influence Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. But the members that are influenced by him include Eric Clapton, who we're about to hear do a song with Barber called Weeping Willow, Lonnie Donegan, of course, Keith Emerson, Andy Fairweather Lowe, and Irish rocker Rory Gallagher is on this album, as well as Jeff Healey, Jules Holland, and of course, Van Morrison and Mark Knopfler from the band Dire Straits. So you can see how the influence of Barber expands throughout the foundation of the classic rock movement coming out of England.
Moaning dove, weeping willow, and that moaning dove. I got a girl up the country, you know I sure do love. You see my woman, tell her to hurry home. See my woman, tell her to hurry home. I ain't had no loving since that girl been gone. Well, it ain't no loving, sure ain't no getting along. Ain't no love, no, sure ain't no getting along. Well, ain't so mean and dirty, don't know right from wrong. Well, I laid down last night, tried to take my rest. Laid down last night, tried to take my rest. But my mind kept rambling like these wild geese in the west. Chris. watch she while I sleep. Buy me a bulldog, watch she while I sleep. Just to keep these men making a 4-day creep. You're gonna want my love some old lonesome day. Want my love mama some old lonesome day. But it'll be too late, I'll be gone too far away. Well, that weeping willow and that moaning dove, weeping willow and that moaning dove. Well, I got a girl of the country, you know I sure do love.
So you can kind of see where this is going to go, right, when we're looking at the skiffle movement and music in England. But the question then is, how does Peggy Seeger become so influential with the song Freight Train? Well, we'll explore that when we come back by taking a look at a guy named Ramblin' Jack Elliot.
One evening as the sun went down and the jungle fire was burning, down the track came a hobo hiking, and he said, "Boys, I'm not turning. I'm headed for a land that's far away, beside the crystal fountains. So come with me, we'll go and see the big rock candy mountains. In the big rock candy mountains, there's a land that's fair and bright, where the handouts grow on bushes and you sleep out every night, where the boxcars all are empty and the sun shines every day on the birds and the bees and the cigarette trees, the lemonade springs where the bluebird sings. In the big rock candy mountains, in the big rock candy mountains, all the cops have wooden legs and the bulldogs all have rubber teeth and the hens lay soft-boiled eggs. The farmers' trees are full of fruit and the barns are full of hay. Oh, I'm bound to go where there ain't no snow, where the rain don't fall, the wind don't blow, in the big rock candy mountains. In the big rock candy mountains, you never change your socks, and the little streams of alcohol come a-trickling down the rocks. The brakemen have to tip their hats and the railroad bulls are blind. There's a lake of stew and of whiskey too, you can paddle all around them in a big canoe, in the big rock candy mountains. In the big rock candy mountains, the jails are made of tin, and you can walk right out again as soon as you are in. There ain't no short-handled shovels, no axes, saws, or picks. I'm a-going to stay where you sleep all day, where they hung the Turk that invented work, in the big rock candy mountains. I'll see you all this coming fall in the big rock candy mountains.
Music there from Harry McClintock and a track that he wrote called Big Rock Candy Mountain. Now, Harry's writing this song about the Depression and the Dust Bowl movement as so-called Okies leave the American Midwest and go out to California as itinerants and hobos looking for work. In fact, that's what my grandparents did with my mom. They went up to Oregon to pick peaches. But he's singing about that moment in time and the challenges that people faced. Now, most of us are familiar with Burl Ives' version of that song, which is kind of like cotton candy and rainbows and stuff, but that was not the original lyrics of the song, nor the original intent. But nonetheless, Big Rock Candy Mountain becomes a foundational song not only of the American folk music, but also of the British folk music as it evolves into skiffle music. But to fully understand how Peggy Seeger becomes influential on this movement, we need to take a look at a guy named Ramblin' Jack Elliot. And most of us maybe have heard that name. He's an influence on a young Bob Dylan. But here's the interesting irony, is Ramblin' Jack Elliot is not his name. And he ain't no cowboy. In fact, he's born in Brooklyn, New York as Elliot Anopos. He's Jewish in descent, and his father is an eminent, prominent physician in Brooklyn. So he claims that as a young child, he would go to Madison Square Garden and go to the World Championship rodeos. And that's where he decides he's going to become a cowboy and a singer and a songwriter. Okay, well, interestingly enough, between 1949 and 1951, Elliot meets Woody Guthrie. Now, Guthrie is an avowed communist. He's one of the most prominent singer-songwriters out there, and he's an advocate of FDR's movement through government to help people during the Depression, okay? And so he's going to become Woody Guthrie's mentee until Guthrie becomes under the influence of the Huntington's disease, which will hospitalize Woody Guthrie between 1952 and when he passes away in 1967. And as we all saw in the Timothy Chalamet version of Bob Dylan's life, it's in the hospital room that Dylan becomes friends with Woody Guthrie. And this is going to become an inspirational moment, a pivotal moment in the development of American folk music. But if we take a look at Elliot, after he leaves Woody Guthrie, he becomes, in 1955, gets on a ship and begins to heads to England to be singing, songwrite, and tour. And also on that ship at the same time is Peggy Seeger, the daughter of Charles Seeger and the stepsister of the legendary Pete Seeger. Upon their arrival, Elliot is going to connect with Alan Lomax, who Seeger already knew, and he's going to become the singing cowboy narrator in a kind of their form of Broadway. It's called the East End, and a play called Big Rock Candy Mountain, A Hobo Paradise. So you can see how Ramblin' Jack, who's Jewish, from Brooklyn, and the son of a prominent and very wealthy physician, takes on this new persona while he's over in England. Well, let's hear a song from the Brooklyn cowboy Ramblin' Jack Elliot and a track, Rollin' My Sweet Baby's Arms.
Well, I guess I'll borrow my wife's banjo now and spell off my guitar fingers a while. Gonna do Roll in My Sweet Baby's Arms. Five-string mountain banjo. Ain't gonna work on the railroad. Ain't gonna work on the farm. I'll lay around the shack till the mail train gets back. Then I'll roll in my sweet baby's arms. Mommy's a ginny cake maker. Sister can weave and spin. Daddy's got an interest in that old cotton mill. Just watch that old money rollin'. Rollin' my sweet baby's arms. Rollin' my sweet baby's arms. I'm gonna lay around the shack till the mail train gets back, and then I'll roll in my sweet baby's arms. Never get a letter from my own true love. She has quit writing to me. She must think I don't love her like I used to. Well, now ain't that a foolish idea? Roll in my sweet baby's arms. Roll in my sweet baby's arms. Lay around the shack till the mail train gets back, and then I'll roll in my sweet baby's arms. Sometimes I there's a change in the ocean. Sometimes there's a change in the sea. Sometimes there's a change in my own true love, but there's never no change in me. Roll in my sweet baby's arms. Roll in my sweet baby's arms. I'm gonna lay around the shack till the mail train gets back, and then I'll roll in my sweet baby's arms. Where were you last Friday night when I was laying in jail, walking the streets with another man, and you wouldn't even go my bail? All in the sweet baby's arms, in my sweet baby's arms. I'll lay around the shack till the mail train gets back, and then I'll roll in my sweet baby's arms.
So he has a bit of a hit in the East End of London. He's playing the banjo at a moment when the banjo's becoming quite popular in skiffle music, and he's there when it's beginning. And he's with Peggy Seeger, and he's with Alan Lomax, the famous field recorder, and they begin to get gravity in their careers. Now, Peggy Seeger's going to go on and join a band called the Ramblers, and it's while she's in this band, the Ramblers, that she meets a guy named Ewan MacColl. Now, Ewan MacColl's birth name is Jimmy Miller, but it didn't have the pizzazz. And he changes it, and they begin an affair because he's a married man. He's on his second marriage, and he has a child. And they begin this relationship that's going to last, and it'll be 18 years until they get around to getting married, and they'll remain together until the day he dies. Now, what makes this interesting is that they're going to travel to China. They're going to travel to communist Russia. She's going to have her passport threatened to be taken away by the American government for subversive activities. In fact, she'll be blacklisted under McCarthyism and have difficulty in traveling. She'll even enter a fake marriage. So she marries someone who they have no relationship. It's just so she can remain in England with Ewan. And they're going to try to make it work. But it doesn't work, and she moves back to L.A., and she's working with, again, the Lomaxes out in L.A., and she calls Ewan and says, I need this song. Can you write a song for me? And he says, I've already written a song for you. It's called The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. Now, if you're like me and you grew up in the 1970s, you recognize the cover that Roberta Flack had of that song. But let's hear the original with Ewan MacColl and Peggy Seeger as they introduce this song into folklore.
The first time ever I saw your face, I thought the sun rose in your eyes, and the moon and the stars were the gift you gave to the dark and empty skies, my love, to the dark and empty skies. The first time ever I kissed your mouth, I felt the earth move in my hand, like the trembling heart of a captive bird that was there at my command, my love, that was there at my command. The first time ever I lay with you and felt your heart beat over mine, joy would fill the earth and last till the end of time, my love, and last till the end of time.
Now, Ewan MacColl, as I noted earlier, had a daughter. Her name was Kirsty MacColl, and she goes on to become a relatively well-known artist in Britain. In fact, she's going to record as a singer with bands like the Smiths and the Pogues, the Talking Heads, Billy Bragg, Simple Minds, Tracy Ullman, the Happy Mondays, Big Country, and working with her husband, record producer Steve Lillywhite, she participates in the production and the development of U2's notable album, The Joshua Tree. She's an early artist on Stiff Records, and I can remember when those records began to come out, and worked with artists like Nick Lowe, Elvis Costello, and Ian Dury early in their career. She records with Madness and the Go-Go's, and she has a best-selling cover of the Kinks song, Days. Well, tragically, MacColl is swimming in the ocean in an atoll-type area in a no-wake zone in Mexico. A boat driven by the wealthiest man in Mexico, reportedly, is zooming towards her son, even though it's a no-wake zone. She swims over, pushes her son out of the way, and gets run over by the boat and killed, tragically. And the country of England goes into great mourning for her because she was kind of just beginning to blossom in her own right. Let's hear some music from the step-niece of Pete Seeger, Kirsty MacColl.
Thank you for the days, those endless days, those sacred days you gave me. I'm thinking of the days I won't forget a single day, believe me. I bless the light, I bless the light that lights on you, believe me. And though you're gone, you're with me every single day, believe me. Days I remember all my life, days when you can't see wrong from right. You took my life, but then I knew that very soon you'd leave me. But it's alright, now I'm not frightened of this world, believe me. I wish today could be tomorrow. The night is long, it just brings sorrow, let it wait. Thank you for the days, those endless days, those sacred days you gave me. I'm thinking of the days I won't forget a single day, believe me. Days I remember all my life, days when you can't see wrong from right. You took my life, but then I knew that very soon you'd leave me. But it's alright, now I'm not frightened of this world, believe me. Days, thank you for the days, those endless days, those sacred days you gave me. I'm thinking of the days I won't forget a single day, believe me. I bless the light, I bless the light that shines on you, believe me. And though you're gone, you're with me every single day, believe me.
So to return back to our theme, because we're kind of off on a tangent here, Peggy Seeger's over in England, skiffle music is beginning to develop. She, of course, is bringing with her in her repertoire the track Freight Train, and she's going to introduce that to the English kids just by playing it and being there, and they're going to adopt that into the skiffle movement. So if we go back to the beginning of skiffle, you have Chris Barber, and also you have Ken Coiler. And they're going to introduce a young man named Lonnie Donegan, who, as I mentioned earlier, kind of becomes the Elvis Presley of the sound of skiffle in the 1950s. He's going to be a massively influential guy. In fact, so influential that both the Traveling Wilburys, Van Morrison, and also Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits will do tribute songs to Lonnie Donegan. We'll hear two of those when we come back in just a moment.
Donegan's gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Play that Grand Coulee Dam, and nobody loved like an Irishman. Gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Donegan's gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan. Lord, I'm just a rolling stone, rocking my soul, I wanna go home. Gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Donegan's gone. Gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Secondly, in a gambling man, rocking my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. I could cry. Gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Yeah, gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone. Oh, gone, Lonnie Donegan, Donegan's gone.
Slowly passing an orphan's home today, I stopped for just a little while to watch the children play. Alone the boy was standing, and when I asked him why, he turned with eyes that could not see, and he began to cry. I'm nobody's child, I'm nobody's child, just like a flower, I'm growing wild. No mama's arms to hold me There are places just like this, with rows and rows of children, babies in their cribs. They've long since stopped the crying, as no one ever hears, and no one's there to notice them or take away the fears. Nobody's child, nobody's child, just like a flower, they're growing wild.
Got no mommy's kisses, and no daddy's smile. Nobody wants them, they're nobody's child.
Nobody's child, they're nobody's child, just like a flower, they're growing wild.
No mommy's kisses, and no daddy's smile. Nobody wants them, they're nobody's child. Nobody wants them, they're nobody's child.
Music there from the Traveling Wilburys doing the old Hank Snow track, Nobody's Child. Now, Hank Snow's going to record that song in 1949, but it's when Lonnie Donegan covers it in 1956 on his first album that it really gets a shot. I think it goes all the way to number 2 in the British charts. It's recorded by a few other bands, and then in 1990, as a part of a Romanian charity, the Traveling Wilburys recorded at the request of George's wife. Well, what's interesting here, and let's talk about it for just a minute, is what is the difference between English classic rock and American classic rock? Well, the English are going to go back into folk music. So they're going to look at Woody Guthrie and Leadbelly, and they're going to look at the Carter family, and they're going to look at the singing brakeman, Jimmy Rogers. And this is kind of the foundation, and eventually they're going to get around to the blues as well, but they're really starting with Skiffle by exploring American folk music. And back at this period of time of folk music, when there's guys like Hank Snow, is they're not differentiating between blues and early folk kind of music. It's all kind of rolled into one. So you have the kind of like, well, Leadbelly's a great example where, is that folk? Is that blues? Yes, it's both. The difference, though, is that the English classic or the American classic rock bands are going to go back to people like Elvis Presley and Chuck Berry and Muddy Waters and the Chicago Chess Records Electric Blues. And so these are where the two different sounds are going to diversify very quickly or spread apart. And so the British are looking at this, and guys like Hank Snow, if you remember, and I don't expect you to, but the Rolling Stones covered Hank Snow with a track early in their recording career as a part of their reference to skiffle music, and a track called I'm Moving On. And so if we take a look at this, this is where they kind of differentiate. Now, for most of us, you may have heard Lonnie Donegan and just don't remember it when he had his big single, Does Your Chewing Gum Lose Its Flavor, on the bedpost overnight. Now, this is a novelty song, and we'll play it in a second. But what we want to think about is that Donegan was a serious artist, and he's playing serious folk music, going back to Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger and all these guys, and he's referencing this music, and he's bringing it over to the English kids and the Irish kids, and they're going to adopt that, and that's going to be the foundation of music as they begin to explore it.
Shall I do? Hallelujah. The question is peculiar. I'd give a lot of dough if only I could know The answer to my question, is it yes or is it no? Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? If your mother says don't chew it, do you swallow it in spite? Can you catch it on your tonsils? Can you heave it left and right? Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? Here comes the blushing bride, the groom is by her side. Up to the altar, just as steady as Gibraltar, while the groom has got the ring, and it's such a pretty thing. But as he slips it on her finger, the choir begins to sing. Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? If your mother said don't chew it, do you swallow it in spite? Can you catch it on your tonsils? Can you heave it left and right? Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? Now the nation rises one to send their honored sons up to the White House. Is the nation's only White House to voice their discontent unto the president. Upon the burning question, what has swept this continent? If tin whistles are made of tin, what do they make foghorns out of? Boom, boom! Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? If your mother says don't chew it, do you swallow it in spite? Can you catch it on your tonsils? Can you heave it left and right? Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? On the bedpost overnight.
Oh, they're the love you're in the one to hold you tight.
On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. On the bedpost overnight.
$1 is $1 and a dime is a dime.
He's singing another chorus, but he hasn't got the time. On the bedpost
Well, as you can tell from the response from the crowd, Lonnie Donegan was a pretty influential guy. He was a popular guy among young people. And we know that when he played Liverpool, George Harrison, who was like 14 or 15 years old, and Paul McCartney, who would have been probably a year older, they went together. And we're pretty sure that John Lennon went as well, although they didn't know each other. And so you had three of the Beatles in the room at the same time when Lonnie Donegan was playing to teenagers in Liverpool. He's a pretty significant guy. And you can see how this skiffle movement, and again the song Freight Train from Peggy Seeger, is going to be very influential on all these guys out of England that go on to significant recording careers in the 1960s and the 1970s. Now, within this skiffle movement, though, they do know about Elvis Presley. Of course they do. And they know about the imagery of trains. And think about it, they're seeing the same kind of movies that are coming out of America, which are basically propaganda postcards to these kids in post-World War II Britain. And so we're going to take a look here of an old traditional song here, Wabash Cannonball, which was a pretty popular track. And my dad, I can remember, used to sing it to me when I was a kid. Also, we're going to hear from Elvis Presley, and he's going to do an old traditional Bill Monroe bluegrass song, and it's going to work its way into the lexicon of rock and roll. It's called Blue Moon of Kentucky, and if you remember, Tom Petty covered this one too. And again, we're seeing how this is all fitting together.
Blue moon, blue moon, blue moon, keep shining bright. Blue moon, keep on shining bright. You'll bring me back from my beer tonight. Blue moon, keep shining bright. I said blue moon of Kentucky, do you keep on shining? Shine only when it's gone and let me blue. I said blue moon of Kentucky, do you keep on shining? Shine only when it's gone and let me blue. Well, it was a moonlight night, stars shine bright. Well, on high, love is in your eye. Blue moon of Kentucky, do you keep on shining? Shine on the one that's gone, let me blue. around, you bring me back my baby tonight. Blue moon, keep it shining bright. Blue moon, keep it shining bright.
Well, to fully understand now this movement, we need to take a look at a guy named Leadbelly. And Leadbelly is going to do a song called the Rock Island Line. And this will be a foundational song in the skiffle music movement. But there is an absolutely amazing history to the song Rock Island Line. In fact, it begins in Iowa.
Now, this is Rock Island Line. I walk on the people blow the train whistle, talk to the depot agent. Depot agent throw that switchboard over the line, and ain't never gonna talk time. I got goats, I got sheep, I got cows, I got hogs, I got horses, I got all livestock, I got all livestock. Now that old Rock Island Line is getting on down the road. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a road to ride. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. If you want to ride, you got to ride it like you find to get your ticket at the station on the Rock Island Line. Jesus died to save our sins, and glory to God, we're going to meet him again. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a road to ride. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. If you want to ride, you got to ride it like you find to get your ticket at the station on the Rock Island Line. A, B, C, double X, Y, Z. He has their hand covered, but they don't see me. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a road to ride. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. If you want to ride, you got to ride it like you find to get your ticket at the station on the Rock Island Line. I may be right and I may be wrong, so you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a road to ride. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. If you want to ride, you got to ride it like you find to get your ticket at the station on the Rock Island Line. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a road to ride. Oh, the Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good road. If you want to ride, you got to ride it like you find to get your ticket at the station on the Rock Island Line.
Music there from Leadbelly and his song Rock Island Line, which he didn't write it, and we're going to get into that. In the mid-19th century in America, riverboats were moving goods up and down the rivers, usually going north to south for the most part. As the nation began to build its railroads, riverboats recognized the threat that the railroad industry presented to them on their monopoly of moving goods. Not only could railroads move east and west, but they were not hampered by flooding and droughts and those sort of things, so they were pretty consistent. And when they wanted to begin this east to west transcontinental railroad back in 1837, a young lieutenant in the Army, a guy named Lieutenant Robert E. Lee, surveyed the first bridge to cross the mighty Mississippi River, and he chose an island in the river, Rock Island, that spanned the Mississippi River between Davenport, Iowa. Now, at that time, a vocal critic of the railroads and someone that was representing the interests of the riverboat was a guy named Jefferson Davis, who was the U.S. Secretary of War at that time. Now, Jefferson Davis, of course, goes on during the Civil War to become the president of the American Confederacy, and Robert E. Lee becomes his general. So it's kind of interesting there, but just wait, it doesn't stop quite yet. Eventually, Lee's bridge gets built, and just 2 weeks after it opens, a steamboat called the Effie Afton crashes into the bridge, catches on fire, and it closes down the bridge because it's destroyed the span on the bridge. Well, the steamboaters are going to claim that the bridges are a danger to them, to their industry, and they're going to sue. They're going to sue the railroads, but the railroad says, you know, we're going to fight this, and we're going to hire this young Illinois lawyer named Abraham Lincoln. And it was this bridge and rail line that would eventually inspire the song, the Rock Island Line. So, in the 1920s, the railroad encouraged its employees to write songs and sing songs about the railroad. And so a guy named Clarence Wilson, a black man whose job was an engine wiper in Little Rock, Arkansas, wrote this song called the Rock Island Line, and he performed it with the Rock Island Colored Quartet. And the song would move into regional popular culture and spread throughout Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas, which is where Lead Belly lived, right? And soon enough, though, and here's where it gets interesting, that railroad is going to go over to Council Bluffs, Iowa, and they're going to begin to build the Union Pacific Railroad. This is going to go from Omaha out to Utah, and it's going to be surveyed and, for the most part, captained by a guy named Grenville Dodge. Well, Dodge Park, Dodge Street, Laura Dodge Elementary School, that family is still a part of our community. I got to meet a guy named Nate Dodge a couple of months ago, and he showed me one of the original surveys from his great-great-great-great-uncle Grenville Dodge, and a picture of Grenville standing between U.S. Grant and General Sherman in Wyoming at a railroad station that they had put together. So you can see how the Rock Island Line is a part of your culture. That's right. Now this continues to get even more bizarre. In 1917, Hughie Leadbeller, who today we know as Leadbelly, gets convicted of murder and sentenced to jail in Sugarland, Texas. Now, Sugarland today is a suburb of Houston, Texas, but back in the day, a train called the Midnight Special would go from Houston to San Antonio. And the legend of jailhouse lore is that if the light of the Midnight Special shone on you, you would be up for parole. And Leadbelly is going to record that song, a song that you and I know not only from Creedence Clearwater Revival, but from the television program that ran from 1972 to approximately 1981. Now, Creedence is going to record that song in 1969, and it's called The Midnight Special.
I want to let you know something. It is truly an honor to be able to be on this stage with all these wonderful musicians and great artists. I really mean that. This is a chance of a lifetime. Hope I don't mess it up. Well, you wake up in the morning, you hear the work bell ring, then they march you to the table. You see the same damn thing. There ain't no food upon the table. There's no fork up in the pan. But you better not complain, boy. You get in trouble with the man. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Yonder come Miss Rosa. How in the world did you know? By the way she wears the apron and the clothes she wore, umbrella on her shoulder, a piece of paper in her hand. She come to see the governor. She want to free her man. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Shoot the midnight special shine a ever-loving light on me. Well, if you ever in Houston, oh, you better the midnight special. Well, shine a light on me. Let the midnight special. Shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine every loving light on me.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
Of course, John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater Revival doing that old track, The Midnight Special. So Leadbelly goes to prison for murder. In 1924, while he's in Texas, as an inmate, he has a chance to play for the governor of Texas, Pat Neff. And he's going to write a song called Please Pardon Me, which he'll play for the governor, and voila, he gets a pardon. But wait, that's not the end of the story, right? In 1930, he gets involved in a knife fight over in Louisiana, which lands him into Louisiana's notorious prison called the Angola State Prison. It was there as an inmate that Leadbelly recorded the song Midnight Special for John Lomax, who we've been talking about as one of the influential figures on not only Ramblin' Jack Elliot, but Charles Seeger, as well as Peggy Seeger when she's in London and Los Angeles. Lomax was capturing and recording folk music in the American South, and this is known as field recordings, and he was impressed by Leadbelly's depth of knowledge on American folk music. By agreement, Leadbelly asks Lomax to take his recording of the Midnight Special and play it for the governor of Louisiana, a guy named O.K. Allen. Well, Allen hears the song and he's like, okay, I'll pardon him. That'd be great. And so now Leadbelly's got his second, I'm going to sing a song and get a pardon and get out of jail. Among the many songs that Leadbelly records is a song called Goodnight Irene. Now, Goodnight Irene also becomes a staple of skiffle music, and as a tip to his own skiffle roots, Rolling Stone Keith Richards will record that song, Goodnight Irene, on his fourth solo record, which is called Cross-Eyed Heart. Let's hear that as we begin to understand how Leadbelly's music is going to have a significant effect on these young British kids.
Well, Irene, good night, Irene. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I see you in my dreams. Last Saturday night I got married. Me and the wife settled down. Now me and my wife, we are parted. I think I'll go out on the town, 'cause sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in the town. Sometimes I take that great notion to jump in the river and drown. Irene, good night, Irene. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. God knows I do. I love her till the seas run dry. If Irene should ever turn me down, I'd take morphine and die. Irene, good night, Irene. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Stop rambling, stop your gambling, stop staying out all night. Go home to your wife and your baby and stay by your fireside bright. So Irene, good night, Irene. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
Another example of how Leadbelly's music is going to have an effect on kids playing skiffle music is when Rory Gallagher is going to record Leadbelly's track Out on the Western Plain. Now we're going to hear that when we come back in just a moment.